to tap into like a reaction to the video that I just watched, which I've been kind of doing a little bit lately. The video with Nero. He's had a few things in that video that really stuck with me because it's something I've been pondering over for a while, so I know I was led to watch this video. First things first is one of the mistakes that he mentioned was that really hit me hard was to pick a technique and just lock in with it instead of trying all these different techniques. And I don't want to blame it on my personal astrology, but it's not really blaming. It's like the astrology actually explains it in a way that can be understood, but if you have a certain amount of intelligence, then you probably won't need that. But for me, starting out when I was younger, it helps explain things. That's why I swear by it so hard. But that was one of the ones that really hit me hard because I always have like deep, pattern recognition with things. So if I do get a sense of, and he started out the video saying if you automatically assume that something isn't working or it's not going to work, then you kind of creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. So when we get to the point where you're creating or you're trying to create something and you're trying too many techniques instead of just sticking with one and practicing it, Mercury, over and over again so you can actually get the result that you want. And the more that you don't follow through with practicing it over and over and you jump into something else, it's because there is an insecurity, there is a doubt that it's not working or it's not going to work. And I'm definitely one of those people where I used to feel like, okay, this is not working for me, so maybe I should try something else. And time is not linear, it's cyclical, right? Everything is spiral, Fibonacci sequence, that type of thing. So that really hit me because I'm like, okay, I had to think about it, like, what technique do I really feel best supports the, me? Like, what pattern of giving my energy to the higher consciousness, the highest frequency, the universe, supreme, energy. What technique do I use or can I use or have used that I feel resonates with me the most? And I must say, looking back at all the different techniques that I have used in the past and like just going through all the things that I have manifested and stuff like that, my biggest resonance has always been with tapping into different spiritual energies. And for example, giving offerings, doing moon rituals, and being regular with that. And I've seen it manifest beautifully, as well as having my yacht altar. Everything felt so good and just flowing. And it wasn't flowing because of an outside entity or energy. It was only flowing because I had conviction that this was going to work, and it is working, so therefore it worked. And the same can be said for those who practice certain religious rituals and beliefs as well. So I was also thinking about, like, what if I went back to, I've been thinking about this a lot actually, is going back to the hall. And that doesn't require me denouncing all that I've acquired in my knowledge and my wisdom. And it's been like a thing for me because I've had dreams about going back. But it's like, how am I being called to return, and people who have deep-rooted beliefs in that organization would view me and what I do as demonic or spiritism or reasons I wanted to go to the memorial this year is because I wanted to prove a point that, you know, there's no amount of men in the world, no titles they can be given that will ever hold a candle to my intuition and what I know to be true, because it's my experience and you can't dictate my experience. You can observe and judge from the outside in, but you'll never be me. You will never have that connection that I have. And I feel like a lot of my, you know, instability within comes from the fact that I made that dedication and commitment, and I haven't lived up to it the way that I was scared to do. But I felt like if I just try, maybe I can, and I could just kind of let it go because of, you know, having my children, or originally just having my oldest daughter out of wedlock. So I kind of just threw away the whole idea, like, okay, maybe that's just not for me, because I'm still participating in activities that's, you know, giving me children out of wedlock. So, you know, maybe I don't need to go back, maybe I don't need to return. And it took me a minute to connect the two, because it's literally no different than anything else that I've been doing, except that I'm doing this on my own and for me, versus when I was going to the hall when I was younger, I was doing it for my mother and what she wanted and what she expected of me. I was never doing anything that I genuinely wanted to do, or that I had passion for. Anything that I had a passion for, or some type of curiosity and creativity, I never got to tap into, and I've basically been doing that, practicing that for the last few years. So it kind of gave me the idea that I should go back, I should return, but I'm never going to give up my connection with Yemaya. I'm never going to give up my connection with Ochun. I'm never going to give up my connection with, you know, anything. I'm just not going to. And I don't feel like I have to. I feel like a part of that connection that I have with those, you know, spiritual connections is just nature. I'm never going to give up my connection to nature. And I feel like going to the hall kind of, it introduces us to nature, but only in a masculine, very masculine dominated way. And I understand that, but that's not for me to only be in one lane like that. I have to ride both lanes, okay? So, as I'm driving, right? So, it's like, I thought about the routine, because I felt like the spirituality aspect, everything that my mother taught me and demonstrated to me was absolutely accurate. And it's what I use to maintain my footing in life. As a spiritual routine, that's the technique that works for me, because I believe that it works. It's been ingrained and trained in me that it does work, and because I've seen it work in another spiritual, you know, way, I know that it's always going to work. And it's one of the reasons why I was always feeling like I'm called to, you know, do another baptism or dedication, or in, you know, Yoruba or Ifa tradition, to be or voodoo, or voodoo, or Lukimi, or Santeria. It's like you have to go through the initiation. And I feel like I've been wanting to go put myself through another initiation process, but I've just been too afraid of going through the same thing that I went through with being baptized and then falling away and not going back. And then it's other, you know, it's other people out there, like, you know, Priestess Offset. She is one of those people who, she's pretty much my mother's generation, where she went through all these different spiritualities and being initiated. And I love her channel too. Her channel was one of the first videos that I found on Ogun, and I didn't even realize it until later like years later, I ended up finding her channel. I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen this lady before. And I love her to pieces because she real as fuck about that shit. How eventually when you get older, through all your experiences, you see the patterns, you see the synchronicities, and it's just about, you know, putting yourself in a position mentally, emotionally, spiritually, where you can align. Because each spiritual system requires the same amount of conviction, dedication, loyalty, devotion is probably a better word, devotion. And I feel like that's what that requires. And I feel like sometimes the only reason why I think about going back, because to me it's been ingrained in my head as some sort of safety net, or a safe place, or a safe haven. If, you know, like the story of the prodigal son returning, that's how it always been played out in my head. But I do feel on a deeper level that that can take place anywhere. It's not isolated. And that's the ultimate breakdown of that institutionalized or indoctrinated way of thinking, is that that's the only place where I can receive favor. That's the only place I can receive comfort. That's the only place I can receive favor. That's the only place I can receive all these blessings and good things and good people. And it's like, it's not. It's absolutely not. I've experienced beautiful things, very beautiful things, that I have never experienced within that organization, by following my intuition and doing things that I absolutely feel called to do, you know. And so even saying it right now out loud is definitely giving me more clarity, because I don't know anybody here personally who can, you know, initiate me through, you know, the path, one of the many paths, Yamaya or Yamoja. You know, I don't know anybody personally who could put me through that initiation. But what I do know is that no matter what I go through, that energy is always calling to me. And it's always called to me when I look back at what I wore, how I handled myself and my relationships, the type of people that I was around, and how I responded to their energy. Like, that's something that will always be with me, and it cannot be erased. So if I was to return, I'm not going to give that up. And that might, you know, reinforce the fact that I can't go back. And honestly, why would I want to go back to a group of people who don't accept me as I am, right? And the fact that that includes family as another layer of the insecurity and the doubt of trying to switch the different techniques. So, you know, it is what it is. So I'm like, okay, spirituality, having a spiritual practice is what my technique is. I've done different spells and practiced different rituals, and even something as small as prayer. Having a consistent prayer has helped me feel more safe, more protected in whatever path that I'm on. I even lit a protection candle recently, and one thing I can sincerely recall is that I started praying more regular, like all the time, lighting incense, that air connection, the smoke cleansing, like that really, really lightened my energy up so much that I felt like I was so good and I could relax. And that was one of the key points he made at the end too, was that ask yourself, are you relaxed? Because when you live in a state like I have of survival, and I felt like a lot of the times as a tree, I'm rooted, the lack of trust in that root chakra, that seed being planted, and not being able to stretch out and grow, you know, does stem from a place of never having a solid home, constantly moving. But, you know, as an adult, it's like, okay, I can change this now. I don't have to, you know, revert backwards, right? And then my whole focus has been on, okay, home, foundation, stability. And I haven't given myself because I've been so scared of losing my home, not having a home, not having a bedroom, not having a bed. You know what I'm saying? That those types of fears from living in those types of lifestyles and environments, reinforcing it has been pretty tough. But recently, especially after the burning that protection candle, it's like I see myself like vibrating my way out of the environment that I'm in right now that I consider to be my home. Like, it's a clear, you know, separation between me and everything that I'm around. And it's always been there, but now I feel it even stronger because my practices have been more consistent than they were during a few months last year after I had my daughter. And even when I had her, the whole thing I kept getting was to practice my spiritual, do some spells, do some type of work, do conjuring, read about the different, like I read the book of demonology with the, you know, the commentation in there. Like, it was like dig. Like, that's the whole thing that I was, you know, doing. And then I, you know, ended up with a Capricorn stellium with a Pisces moon. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's a natural born witch. And I had to put myself in the frequency that she was coming here as. The same thing with my son. I got deeper into astrology, deeper into, you know, chart reading, you know, deeper into esoteric connections between the stars and the guidances, and, you know, eventually finding my way to learning more about Yimaya and Ochun, you know what I'm saying, and Oya and Alengua, like all of that stuff being connected. But it was like him wanting to be named 7 and getting that message over and over and over and over and over again until we actually named him 7. You know, like, I had to put myself on the frequency that he wanted to be on. He even chose his name before he came. You know, he has Mars in Aquarius, so he in Western astrology, so he already knew what it was. I just had to attune myself to the frequency that he was coming here to perform and to do while I was pregnant. You know? So, you know, I keep saying, you know. But it's like, okay, if this is the technique that's always helped me, if this is the technique that has rendered me to be able to presume, like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be safe. No matter what happens, everything's going to work out. No matter what happens, I'm going to be good. So I have to practice that technique and not doubt myself or let other people's influences, who might even be in the same practices as I am, change my mind about how I feel. Like, we could be looking at the same movie and see different things about those people. I read shit all the time on the fucking internet about how people feel like, you know, Beyonce is a witch and she's evil and she's dark. And it's like, I see the darkness, but I don't see evil. I don't feel evil. I definitely feel protection. I definitely feel ancestral protection. I definitely feel determination to stick to my shit and not waver. That's the energy I feel. And if people see that as being evil because you're not going to back down or submit to someone else's idea of you, then so be it. So be it. You know what I'm saying? And everyone has a right to feel however they want to feel, or have a right to their opinions, because their opinions is only based off of, you know, the belief system they've convinced themselves to be accurate and true. And that's okay, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But as for me, you know, when I'm getting back to the main point, is that in my conviction that this is what works for me, I have to work it and lock in. And I feel like it's going to take me to a level. I know it's taking me to a level, and I feel like sometimes the inconsistencies that we have, that we display, has a lot to do with the branching out into the unknown. Like I was saying before, I've been so in this cocoon. I feel like I'm oversized in my cocoon about, you know, not wanting to be homeless or be stuck in a home situation where I'm uncomfortable. So I'm always fixated on, okay, I gotta work, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. And he was even bringing up that stuff too, because are you not relaxed? Not are you not entertained? Are you not relaxed? Are you not trusting? Like, what's the point of doing all this work and locking in if you're still gonna try to do the work on behalf of the universe itself? Like, there's a limitation on being a physical being. There's a limitation on being a human for a reason. And to accept that with pride and, you know, sincere gratitude that you don't have to do everything. You don't have to work so hard. You don't have to be so stressed out and stretched out, you know, same frequency. You don't have to do that. And I was like, I have to keep bringing myself back to this over and over and over and over again. And it's like, why is it not hitting? Why is it not grounding the same way like you did before? What is it? What's the blockage? The doubt, the insecurity of, you know, not having the type of support that I desire to have. Okay, well, my life, scripting, my life is good and beneficial for me. I live my dream life every single day, whether or not I get the approval of family or not. Because them being in my life is not going to make or break my day. Being a millionaire is not going to make or break my day. Nothing can make or break my day unless I give it the power and the energy to it. Failing at something is not going to make or break my day. Being married is not going to make or break my day. Making a certain amount of money is not going to make or break my day. And when you're trying to reprogram yourself out of the scarcity, the lack mentality, the fear, it's going to challenge you. Rightfully so, because it's like, do you really believe that? Do you really have conviction behind that? And it takes time. Circular motion, because you have to keep going round and round and round. Practice. That's why when you get to graduate and you get these degrees and you go into this field of service, you're practicing medicine, you're practicing, you know, psychology, you're practicing Reiki, you're practicing Virgo, repetition, routine, rituals. You're a practitioner. Okay, someone who practices something over and over again without, you know, ceasing. Prayer warrior, you pray without ceasing. You don't give up. You don't give up. You don't quit. You keep going. Perseverance. When you persist in something, Capricorn, that is proof of faith. Now the thing about the Capricorn energy too, on top of that, is that Aquarius, which I feel is kind of like a more mastered version of Saturn, because now you're at the point where you just detach from the physical reality and just let that shit be, because you know there's something higher that you're connected to, that you know is you, where you don't have to feel like you have to, you know, constantly configure every single thing in the physical world 24/7. It's just that it creates sometimes a consistency, because Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, modernly, is flashes of insight, random acts of change, and it can be chaotic, because it's like you've learned, or you've learned that you've known something, and now you're becoming aware of what you've already known. You are becoming aware of something you've already known. And the shock waves that take place in that moment, just like a bolt of thunder coming down. It ripples through your timeline, your reality, which opens the door for you to emotionally jump yourself out of one reality into another. Quantum leap, as they would say, which is scientifically proven, which is not satanic, which is not demonic, which is not bullshit. Pluto Leo did a huge number on society in the United States of America. Let me tell you. All in all, this therapy session basically helped me realize how much I got in my own way with the doubts and anxiety, and both of them bitches don't live here no more, along with Shaniqua. So I was very grateful to have seen that video, because I've watched these videos before and shit did hit, but this, honey, let me tell you, I need to put my nails back on, because it's I got cussed out and beat up in the most loving way possible that I needed, right? Especially right now of all times, because I feel like I'm on the brink of like breaking this glass ceiling, and like I can touch it, I can feel it breaking, it's cracking, okay? It's cracking, and all I have to do is just, and I feel like I took the step to breaking that barrier yesterday when I applied for this opportunity to grow in my path. And emotionally, of course, you know, it's hard to not be excited about something like this happening, but taking a page out of the book of good manifestation techniques. I'm gonna do my spiritual work, and I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna be anxious over it, because I'm good without you. I'm good. You know, I took that same approach, you know, with someone I love and deeply respect and cherish. Like, I'm good whether we together or not. In my soul, in my heart of hearts, I know that this is supposed to be what I know it's supposed to be. Even regardless of everything that has happened and everything that I've been through, I've always known in my deep knowing that it's supposed to go this way. And even though I didn't understand why, even though if it didn't, shit was just like, this is stupid, why am I doing this, why are you guiding me through this situation? Like, I just wanted to get away from this because I can't handle it, my heart can't take it. And spirit be like, okay, so we're gonna disconnect and you're gonna learn your lesson as to why you gotta come back and do this shit again. And then it got to a point where it was like, I got mad, I got upset, you know, and it was valid. I didn't have all the information, but when did we ever have all the information for real? But it was like, I got upset, I was angry, I felt hurt, a little bit betrayed, a little bit. Old wounds rose to the surface as well. And then it was just like, so I can use this opportunity to love on myself a little bit more and heal the pain that I feel, the neglect, the abandonment that I feel that this person don't have nothing to do with, and give myself an opportunity to later look at it in a different perspective. Or I can continue to be mad, continue to be angry, lash out, and make the same decisions I already made that has brought me nothing but back to where I'm about to leave from. Because I knew, like, man, I should have just stuck to the code. If I would have just stuck to the code, if I would have just locked in, and despite everything, and it's given me proof that even the people that's closest to you, the people that you've trusted, the things that you've trusted, the cycles that you've trusted, will all test your ability to not fold, to not bend, to not submit to something that you know you do not want. No matter how crazy it seems. And it's all intuitive. For me, it's intuitive. But then it's like, this is going to be like this for everywhere. Everything. You know, the path, my career, my occupation, what I'm here to do on earth is going to be the exact same way. I know what I'm here to do. I know what I have to do. And anytime I've had a reading, it's always been, you're already doing it. And I'm like, so am I supposed to do it better? Or it's like, no, you're just supposed to do it. And I'm like, okay, but like, it's not working in the way that I see it work for other people. So am I doing it wrong? And it's like, no. Where's that emotional conviction? That's really it. Is the emotional conviction that I'm doing it right. The emotional conviction that it's the right person. The emotional conviction that the home that I desire to have is already mine. It's all in. It's all inside. It's all right here. Okay? So, I didn't know I was going to go in this direction when I turned this on. But I'm glad I did, because clarity, honey. Clarity. Alright, let me go see this sexy thing. Real thing. Come on. Alright, I need to get back to work. But I just thought I'd get that dirt off my shoulders. I hope y'all have a lovely day, whoever is able to catch this.